How are you?
Hey, it's good. I'm wonderful. It's good to see you.
All right. So we're getting started today. I have Strider with me, who is a dear friend of mine that I met on the trail. And I don't even really know where we met. Do you remember? I remember the Florida boys at the shelter, but I think we met before that.
Um, we did meet right before the Country Boy and
Hog boy.
Hogman.
Yes.
Yeah, Hogman and Country Boy. I think it was early Pennsylvania
Okay. I knew it
because
was up in the
I think it
northern
was,
part. Right.
yeah, yeah.
So he has been one of my favorite people on the trail. Always so excited to see you and just always made me feel so welcome. And so I appreciate that. And you will forever be in my heart. But I want to show you guys something. He sent this to me. Isn't this awesome? This made my day. This was
Oh,
awesome.
good.
It
I'm so
absolutely made
glad.
my day. I appreciate that so much. So, but we're going to get to chatting and talking about our time on the trail. When, regardless of whether it was when we were, sharing that time together or like the beginning. So, I want to find out, and I don't know all the answers to these. We've talked a lot, but what inspired you to start on the Appalachian Trail?
Well, that goes back my teenage years when I actually discovered that there was a trail that ran 2,000 miles. I thought, always loved hiking and backpacking. I thought, man, that would be awesome.
Right.
Um, in 1988, when I truly got inspired to do it, had a roommate that used to do trail maintenance in Pennsylvania, and he was actually giving me firsthand play-by-play of the trail in the
Right.
Pennsylvania section. I'd never stepped foot on it at that time, but I actually I was stationed in Georgia at the time, and I thought, well, as soon as I ETS, I'm going to just hike to Maine.
So you were
That
in the
fell through on
military,
me.
right?
Yes.
And
So
what
that
rank
fell
were you?
through. I was in the Army.
Okay. Well, thank you for your
Yeah.
service.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah. Now, this is
Pleasure.
going to be a sidebar, but did you run into a lot of the guys from the Warrior Expedition?
I did.
Oh, I
I
did too.
did.
Yeah.
Awesome. They were,
Yes.
so, yeah,
Right. And so for
great guys.
people don't know what that is. It's a nonprofit organization that helps combat vets do, and they have three expeditions. They have hiking the Appalachian Trail. They have boating. I don't know if it's canoeing or kayaking down the whole Mississippi. And then they also do an expedition biking from Washington, D.C. to Washington State. And I have a lot of interviews with them that I'm going to put together and put on my YouTube channel. But so many of them were out there, and it was so cool to get to know them. So, but you ran into a lot of them too.
A lot of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
I hiked on and off, in our little bubbles. I'd hike with a
Right.
few of them
Yeah.
different times, but they were all great men and women.
Right.
So inspired by them.
Oh
And
yeah.
that's an awesome organization.
I
All,
agree. Yep.
yeah.
I never even heard of it before I got on the Appalachian Trail this year. But
I
I'm,
hadn't either.
yeah, amazing. So anytime I can put a plug in for them, I'm going to do it because I just think that they do amazing things for our combat vets. So what now you're from Pennsylvania, right?
I'm from West Virginia.
Oh, West Virginia, that's right. And
Yeah.
so before the Appalachian Trail through hike that you did you ever get on the Appalachian Trail before that?
Several times. Around 2014, I actually started planning a hike. I knew I was going to do it at some point. So I started planning, and every year I would go out and I'd do a 100-mile section. I'd done most of Virginia, done a little around Springer, and then I'd done the Grayson Highlands. And, you know, every year you'd go out and I'd take a week's vacation. I'd walk 100 miles, and I'm driving home and I'm thinking, man, could I have been out there another week? That was
Right.
tough. I'm sore. Could I do another one? This year when I started week two, there was no question about it. Man, this is where I'm meant to be at this time.
Yeah. Yeah. When you did those section hikes, did you ever, when you were driving away from the mountains, did you ever just look in the rearview mirror and think like, oh, I hate leaving this place?
Every time,
Oh, I
every
did
time.
too. I
Yeah.
did too. When I was in the Smokies, that was my training grounds, the Smokies. We go, but only just like twice a year, once or twice a year or so. And so, when did you first start backpacking? When was your first experience of that?
I live in West Virginia. Tons of outdoor opportunities here. Tons. I was probably 11 or 12 when my
Wow.
parents would allow me to take a knapsack and take off for the weekend. They
Wow.
always said, even when I matured, became an adult, they said we never worried about you when you were out in the woods playing.
Yeah.
Just when you didn't go out in the woods was the concern.
So when you first started
Um,
the hike, how did you feel?
my first day was a 16 miler and felt good. Then I started, I got in that little bubble, started making friends, and just everyone's, saying, "Hey, let's take it easy."
Right.
8, 10 miles a day for the first until we got to Gatlinburg, and after that, then started picking up the miles. But
Right.
yeah, felt good, felt
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. Do you know how much your backpack weighed?
When I left Springer on day one, it weighed 24 pounds with water.
Oh,
Yeah, that was my winter kit. Once we got to Damascus, I switched out some gear. My daughter met me for trail days.
right.
So brought in a quilt, got rid of my sleeping bag, my heavy quilt, and a Uberlight, Thermarest Uberlight. Got rid of my winter clothes. So I did most of the trail probably 20 pounds or less.
Wow.
But
That's impressive.
I'm telling you, that 20 pounds going through New Hampshire, I was thinking, can I send my tent home? I was wanting to get rid of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I was excited when my backpack was 27. I tried on your backpack at a shelter one time. Remember that? And
Yes,
you had a what did you have, an Osprey?
that was an Osprey. I started with the Z Pack Arc Blast, which was
Hmm.
a great pack, but it blew out on me in New York. So I had that Osprey. I had my daughter send it to me, and I just finished hike with it.
Right.
Really good pack. I liked it. I forgot how much I liked it. It was
Right.
quieter and it rode better than the Z Pack, but
Right. I like the way it fit
I
on the
was
hips.
it had a good fit, didn't it?
Yeah. Do you have any favorite um gear?
I'm really happy with my tent. I had a duplex tent.
Okay.
I slept through some torrential storms, man.
Right.
When we were in right before we got to before I got to Franklin, there was like tornado warnings, and we were on a ridge, and I thought that tent was going to rip in half. It was the wind was beating so hard,
Right.
but stayed dry the entire time. It was amazing. I really liked the tent.
Okay. So that was a Z-Pex duplex, right?
Yeah,
Pex.
yeah.
So you're a Z-Pex guy. You had a backpack and you had their tent.
I got
Yeah.
into the gram counting. I started counting grams in
What
yeah
water filter did you use?
a Sawyer, and
Okay.
I also used a CNOC, and
Right.
all the way up in Vermont, that really tannic water.
Hmm.
Some people I'm hiking around was couldn't believe the flow rate that I had. I never squeezed it. I would just fill it in my CNOC bag and let it gravity feed.
Right.
I back flush it when I got to town, and that filter worked flawless for me.
Right. Do you
Really
remember the
good flow
time
rate.
that we were with the Florida boys, Hogman and the Country Boy,
Country boy.
when we were at the shelter and they were out of water? So I let them use my water, and then I went down that big long hill to get water that I couldn't
Yes.
find it
Oh,
because
and that
the
water
guide,
was dry.
the
Oh,
guide had to
you
go without
saved me
water.
because I walked down and I'm way down in there and Phoenix and Prime Time were coming up the hill,
Right.
and they said there's no water down there, so you saved me a good half-mile walk,
Yeah, and it was
and
a
you were out
really,
of water.
yes, because I gave it to them because I was going to go down and get some, and then there
Oh
wasn't any
yeah,
there. So
I forgot about that.
yeah,
Yes, and that was a big dry stretch there.
yeah, it was. Did you have any issues during the heat spells with water supply? Because the water was sparse when we went through those heat spells.
Yeah, I was just so lucky and so grateful. You become really thankful that the people that actually left all the jugs at the trail crossings.
Right.
If they had done that, there's no way I could have finished. I
I
don't think
agree.
any of us could have.
Right.
Yeah,
I
that was
agree.
so generous of them.
Yep.
Every trail crossing, all them bottles of water
Right.
was it was a yeah.
And occasionally there was a cooler, right?
Yes, I love
Occasionally they gave
those.
those coolers.
Yeah, ice water.
Yes, that was good. What sleeping bag? Did you use a sleeping bag or a quilt?
I started with a UGQ 20-degree quilt.
Uh-huh.
Uh, Very happy with it. I've slept in it here down to zero in West Virginia. Uh, it was a really good quilt, and I traded off after trail days for a UGQ called a Quillo. It's a really lightweight 40-degree like throw quilt with a foot box sewn in, so you can actually put your feet in this little. And I really liked it. It
Yeah.
worked well also.
Did you have a
You
liner?
know, I did not.
Yeah.
Now, I sleep really warm.
Hmm.
I sleep warm. One thing I carried the entire way that I don't know why I did. I carried my puffy the entire way, even when it was 100 degrees all summer. I still had my down puffy in my
Right.
bag.
I did too, though, but it takes up so little space. I sent my pull up, my mid layer home and kept my puffy.
I did the same thing. That's
Yeah.
exactly what I did. I sent the mid
Yeah.
layer home.
Let's talk about food because food was a big thing on the
Uh,
trail. What were some of your go-to meals?
um, I've reflected on this, and I don't know why I did this. I got into a rut once it got warm. Prior to getting warm, I would change it up a little bit, but
Right.
after it got warm, it was the same thing. Every two peanut butter tortillas for lunch. That would be my lunch every day. And then I would eat a north side for dinner or a ramen side for dinner.
Right.
And once a week, typically, I'd eat like a mountain house. But it was the same thing every time I resupplied. And I'm thinking, why
Right.
did I do that? But I never got, and it was always the same thing. It's like it was the Norse broccoli and cheese side.
Mm,
Never got tired of it.
right.
For oatmeal, I've never enjoyed oatmeal. I've always
Right.
carried it backpacking, but I've never enjoyed oatmeal. When it got hot, I quit cooking oatmeal and I just put it in an ice cream jar, and I
Oh.
would eat it cold for breakfast.
Mhm.
And I tell you, the high protein Quaker oatmeal, I really developed a taste for it. It was really good when you cooked it
Yeah.
cold or cold soaked it. Started out, I took coffee. I really like my coffee, so I took a pour over and some good grounds, and I was drinking good coffee for the first 2 weeks. Got to Gatlinburg, and I did away with all that stuff.
Mm.
By the time I got out of New York, I was buying Dunkin' coffee and just drinking it cold. I wasn't even cooking it. I was just drinking that cold brew in my water bottle.
Wow. Did you like I was like you, I could eat the same thing over and over again and not get tired. But I did like the tuna packets for lunch. And at first I was only boiling water in my cook pot and I wouldn't cook in it. But then I started doing the north sides and I really like those. But I didn't do ramen one time.
Oh wow!
Yeah. So I always did protein bars for breakfast. And then I would do tortilla wraps with tuna fish or chicken for lunch. And then I would either have a north side or a freeze dried meal or something along those lines. But and then when it got hot out, my stove stopped working, so I sent it home and just ate more tortilla wraps
Oh,
for dinner. And so, but then I started
now,
getting an issue where I wasn't getting enough food in, and my sweat was starting to smell like ammonia because my body was breaking down its proteins or something like that. And so I knew I had to start getting more food into me. So, but what about snacks? What
yeah.
were your favorite go-to snacks?
Um, by the time I started for Vermont, it was just every day. 10 o'clock, I'd eat a Snickers bar. 11 o'clock, I'd eat a bag of Skittles. Every day it was
Oh,
just time. It fueled me, and it
right.
was also a weight loss thing. I went to a hostel and jumped on the scales, and I thought, oh, I was like 162 pounds, and I hadn't weighed that much. I was in high school, probably.
Right.
It scared me, so I started eating that. The town food, when I would get to town, I could not eat enough. I
Yeah.
mean, I would really everything in sight.
Yeah. What
Yeah,
was your favorite? Was it like hamburger, pizza, spaghetti? Like,
hamburgers. I always craved a hamburger.
yep,
The
that was
burgers
fun.
and like milkshakes and ice cream. I was never a huge fan. Uh,
Right.
you know, but the blueberry, what was it, blackberry milkshakes in
Oh
Shenandoah.
yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Those
yeah,
are good.
it was.
Yeah.
Yes.
I did it with the ice cream and the cobbler. They had like a combo at one of
Nice.
those places. It was really good. So
Yeah.
we
I
did.
got my first burger at the way station. And when I ate it, I thought, okay, I ate that and the fries. And I thought, I'll try a milkshake. So I got it. I drank it. And I thought, I'm taking another one out of here. And
Yeah.
I regretted drinking that much milk that period of time.
Did you go to the general store in Graceland Highlands? They talked about the burgers there.
No,
We
I did
we
not.
got a shuttle there just for the burgers
Nice.
and came back. We wasted a lot of time doing that, but it was worth it. The burger was really good.
Was it that good?
Yes.
Now, Bushy Mountain Outfitters coming out of uh, Bushy Mountain Outfitters coming.
I don't remember
It's right
that.
there at the Interstate 77 in Bland, Virginia.
Okay.
Did you stop in there by chance?
No, I don't think
They
so.
uh they had a bologna cheeseburger, and I thought, man, I had one in Hot Springs because I'd stopped in Hot Springs and I was eating dinner down there, and I just told the waiter, I said, man, bring me what you would order, and he brought
I like
me
that.
a bologna cheeseburger, and it was awesome. So I get up there and they had it. It had a 3/4 inch slice of bologna
Oh my
on a
gosh.
half-inch slice of hamburger. It was brutal, but man, you talking the
Wow.
calorie deficit?
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
brutal. It was
Did
yeah.
you take a Zero or a Nero in Hot Springs?
I took a Nero. I actually stayed at the trailer, Jennifer Farr Davis, down right above
Okay.
the Dollar General. Really nice place, really
Right.
really convenient. That was actually my first hostel stay.
Okay. We did a
Yeah.
hero that day, which I learned that what a hero was. It's you hike in, you eat, you resupply, and you hike out. So that's called a hero, I guess. But we ate
Okay.
breakfast at that restaurant. Did you eat breakfast there?
Um,
It was
no, I did
amazing.
not.
Oh my
I
gosh,
did not.
so good. My favorite snacks were at first they were peanut M&Ms, and then they moved to Sour Patch Kids.
Oh,
I loved, I don't know why, and I never ate them before, but I really loved those Sour Patch Kids. They were my go-to. So
I've never tried them. That's a good thing.
they were good. They were good. I just packed my fanny pack with my snacks. I didn't have any kind of schedule like you did, and I would just eat when I started feeling hungry. What about your favorite places? Like favorite like places on the AT, like views, mountains, areas.
That's so tough. It's
It
like
is.
for some reason, I mean, the whole trail, there's so many magical, beautiful places, just
Right.
unbelievably beautiful. We're so blessed. The saddlebacks, the horn saddlebacks, I loved that. You just had a feeling that you were in such a vast wilderness. The views
Yes.
were endless. I
Yeah.
really, really like that.
Right.
That's and the 100 Mile Wilderness, of course.
Mm,
That's just so beautiful
right.
all the way through there.
So
Yeah.
many places. I don't know. I think you almost have to do it, by state almost to try. I love Franconia Ridge. I so loved being able to see the trail from one peak to the next. I thought it blew my mind. Absolutely blew my mind that
The,
you could do that.
the day I went across Franconia, went across with a guy named Anything. Do you ever meet Anything?
Mm-mm.
Went across with him. We were looking at, gosh, 40, 45, 50 mile an hour gust of winds. It was physically, I was thinking it was going to blow me off the ridge, fog,
No, we had a good
25,
view.
30 foot visibility. And I'm up there and I'm walking and just struggling because it's so cold and wet. And I'm thinking, man, I'm going to have to drive back up here. I'm going to have to drive up here just to walk this ridge. And
Yeah,
I am. I mean,
it's
I'm going
so
to walk that
beautiful.
ridge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about Mount Washington? Did you have a good view on Mount Washington?
Um, it wasn't bad, but no, it wasn't a spectacular view. It was somewhat clear. I could see it all day until I got there. And then the fog kind of,
Go figure, right?
yeah, yeah. But that was great because I got up there at, the snack shop. You go hit the snack shop up,
Yep.
pizza and yeah,
Chili, all
corn
that kind
dogs,
of stuff.
you
Yep.
chili, yes.
Yep. So give me some of your highlights, like whether it was like interactions with people or moments on the trail, like things that just resonated with you while you were out there.
Man, there's so many. It's yeah. When people say the trail's magical, it truly is
Hmm.
magical. I loved the people. It's like when I run into you, it's like, oh my, this is great. And it truly was. Felt like it's
Yeah.
just great. It's so wonderful.
Right.
Um, there's a couple times, and it was early on. I stopped at the Coaches in Marion, Virginia. This was like, man, it was just 2 different days. I'm coming through Grayson Highlands, and that first shelter where the ponies are, the
Hmm.
log cabin shelter.
Yep.
There was a hiker there. The weather was bad, and I'm talking to him. He said, "Well, I think I'm just going to stay here again tonight. I'm going to zero here." His name was BC, so he takes a bag of them BC headache powders and he eats them. He says, this is why they call me BC. I said, oh, that's cool. He said, yeah, I do about 12, 13 of these a day. And I'm like, dude, have you ever thought about consulting a neurologist? He said, I did 8 years ago when I had blastoma, some tumor. He said, it's
Oh my
the most
God.
aggressive form of brain cancer there was.
Wow.
And he said, that was 8 years ago. And he starts showing me his previous 8 years on the phone. And it was just amazing. It's like, oh my, this is so cool. That interaction. I make it to Marion. I go to the coaches. And, that's just, that's still, even now, I think about this guy.
Right.
I get to Marion. I go and coaches the hostel. I can't remember the name of the hostel, but Coach's Gear Shop has a hostel upstairs.
Mhm.
Really good hostel. And it was two gentlemen up there, and I wish I'd wrote names down because I forgot the first gentleman's name, but the second guy, his trail name was Whipple. And both these gentlemen were stage 4 pancreatic cancer.
Mm.
They had met in a Facebook group, and the one gentleman, he had always wanted to hike the trail. So Whipple had seen him, talked to him in the Facebook, said, hey, would you mind if I join you? And they were just doing 3 and 4 miles a day
Wow.
out there, stage 4 pancreatic cancer. And it was just like, oh, that's
Yeah.
still to this day. It's just, that is an experience I would have never,
Right.
that's incredible.
Wow. Yeah.
And all the people, it's like my social circle wouldn't have been around a lot of these younger hikers,
Hmm.
have different lifestyles. They were so much fun though, you
Right.
just embrace the trail and everyone's just family,
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
the
That's what I loved
people,
about it. I thought
yeah,
the people did it for me. Like it didn't make any difference how old you were, where you came from, what your occupation was, anything. We were just all hikers and
yeah.
everybody kind of helped each other out and supported each other. I never had one negative experience with another hiker. Did you?
Um, not with a hiker, not with a hiker. Only had one negative experience, and that was at a road crossing shelter in Pennsylvania, and a guy was using drugs,
Oh,
and I interrupted his ritual. He is
gotcha.
at a shelter
Right,
doing his drug thing, and he wasn't a through hike; it was just close to a road.
right.
Yeah,
Huh.
but I just remember how bad I felt that day after that had happened. It was like that peace that we had had all summer. It was just
Right.
like but it dissipated quickly. By the time I got to the next road crossing, a country boy and Hogman had caught up with me, and we're
Wow.
talking about it. And it was over instantly. Just shed it. Just had
Right.
fun with them guys for a
They
couple
are
of
so much
days.
fun, aren't they?
Oh, they were.
I
They
do
truly
love it.
were. Now
Yeah.
they're somewhat neighbors. They're fairly close
Yeah.
to you, aren't they?
Well, yeah, Country Boy is only like maybe 15 miles from me.
Nice.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
then Hogman, is it Hogman or Hog Boy?
Uh, might be Hog Boy. I called him Hogman. I thought.
Okay.
Yeah.
He is
Hog
about
Boy.
3 hours from me.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
They were really really
yeah.
fun people. I
So,
liked them.
and any like trail magic or trail angel encounter that really resonated with you?
Yeah, the actually, it was really cool. There's so many
Right.
the entire way, and they're all incredible. You go up there, someone's like cooking you, yeah, like pork loin.
Right,
Did you
right.
ever run into stops a lot, sir? Stops?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
I've I got lucky and ran into him like 3 times, and he was always cooking like real food for you. He does the entire trail. He follows it up. Sir
Wow.
Stops was great. I wanted to say my very first really awesome trail magic, and when we started, it was every road crossing had it,
Right.
was on Easter morning this year. Easter just happened to be my birthday, and
Oh,
it coincided, came down into a gap, and a local church had set up a huge spread. And this was true home cooking, man. This
right.
was good. This was like being at home, and it was
Great
great
birthday
food.
present.
Oh, it was awesome. Yeah, they had a communion set up. It was really cool.
Oh, that's
Oh, it
really
was
cool.
awesome. It
Yeah.
was really awesome. So that carried me, and 11 and a half miles into the 100-mile wilderness. Did you ever meet the ice cream man? The one that drives the trail in the camper and hands out ice creams?
Nope. Mm-mm. I went to a house in New Hampshire, I think,
Yes, that
and got it out off
yes,
the porch. Did you do that
yes.
one? Yeah.
I did too. This
Yeah.
guy, he's also known as the ice cream man. I think his trail name is Arnament. He starts handing out ice cream in like Virginia and all the
Oh,
way up. So I a couple times I talked to him, got to chat with him a lot.
right.
And I'm going across 11 and a half miles into the 100-mile wilderness. I'm on the other side of the river. I've just put my shoes back on, strapped my pack on, and I'm going up that mountain. And this is the first really wide river crossing in the 100-mile. And I hear Strider. And I turn around, he's on the other side of the river, and he's a trail leader. And I'm like, "Hey, dude, where's my ice cream?" And he holds up a package of Oreos, and he said, "Ice cream melts out here."
Oh my
He waited
goodness.
halfway out in that river and threw me them Oreos. And I
Oh
thought,
my goodness.
that is so priceless. That far
Oh,
back in,
what a
and he just,
crazy.
oh, that was so awesome. That
That
was
is
so awesome.
awesome. Like you said, you go down into a gap and there's trail magic set up there, and it just enlightens your whole day. It just changes everything. So, did you have any days where you question whether you're going to stay out there or not?
No, never questioned if I was going to stay. One of one of my most interesting days. It was May 26th. I just came off Dragon's Tooth. I was went down to the gas station there in Catawba with the pizza. Did you hit that one?
Mm-hmm.
Where like there was a hostel on Four Pines. If you went to the right, if you went to the left, there was a gas station, and they did have probably the best pizza I ate on the trail. So I ate a large pizza, drank two Gatorades, and I started up the mountain. Um, I get up on that mountain. I'm headed toward like McAfee's Knob,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm halfway across that ridge. And I don't know if I ever told you this story, when
I don't think so.
um, it got ominous really quick. I mean, it got dark, and then it was off to the left hand side, off to the west. It was just dark, and I thought, man, I've got to get down this ridge. So I'm trying to get off that ridge, and then it came up on the eastern side, and it just I watched it come out of that valley all the way up, and I thought, oh man, this is going to be interesting. It was the worst storm I'd ever been in my life. I
Oh,
mean,
wow.
it was bad. Instantly, it was like really bad. So I took shelter against a really large oak tree right off the trail, and I'm expecting to get struck by lightning. The lightning, it's a storm, so I'm on the balls of my feet, and I'm up, leaning against this tree pretty much to keep from the rain coming 90 degrees
Right.
across that ridge. And then the tree started breaking and blowing down.
Oh no.
And I'm like, this is bad. I knew it was bad. Heard an explosion behind me, and I'm splayed out on the side of the mountain in severe pain. And I'm thinking, I've been hit by lightning. So I was doing a self-assessment, and was very, very pleased when my legs moved, because I was in so much pain. I thought I was in real
You
trouble.
got struck by
So
lightning?
I thought I did. A tree behind me had snapped in half. It was probably about a 10 or 12-inch oak tree. It had had to hit the tree that I was taking shelter from, and it rode down that tree and nailed me. Had
Oh,
I not been on the balls of my feet, it would have crushed me, but it just knocked me out of the way.
oh my
So
goodness.
total luck there, or fate.
Mm,
So I spent the next 3 days. I was doing good miles up to then, 18, 20 miles every day, and just having a good time. And
right.
and I hobbled along after that. It was like probably 8 or 10 miles. It took me a couple of days to get to Delville.
Hmm.
When I got to Delville, I was telling another hiker, I was telling Boots, I said, man, this is the storm. I got caught in this storm. And he's like, that wasn't a storm. That was a tornado. And I pulled my phone out right then, and I looked, and that was the second tornado to ever hit Salem, Virginia.
Oh my
And
goodness.
I was on that ridge. Uh,
Oh,
Even then, I was hurt for a few weeks, but even then, I never thought about quitting. It was just, it was just an annoyance. And
right.
that was my first time ever like eating NSAIDs, like Aleve and Tylenols. I kept eating that stuff as I hiked,
Wow.
but it
Boy,
was just so, yeah,
I've never heard that story. You never shared that.
yeah. I would tell that story around the shelters from time to time.
Wow. Well, I missed
Yeah,
out on that one.
yeah.
Wow. That's crazy. We had a couple storms that were really bad that, the lightning and thunder and crazy rain. And then the one time we got to a shelter and there were like more people in the shelter than there was room. And so we had to set up our tents, and we found this like rhododendron little, place that gave us a little bit of shelter. But the next day when we hiked out of there were trees down everywhere. Like we would have to
Oh,
take our backpacks off and shove our backpack through it and then climb over and under. And this one campsite was just covered with trees. And we thought, if anybody stayed there last night, I don't know how they would have made it out of there. Yeah, we were pretty lucky. And yeah, it was bad. But we tried to save a spot in that shelter for Nine Lives because he had a hammock. And we thought, there's no way he's going to be able to set up a hammock in this kind of weather. Like it was bad. So
yeah. After my experience, I mean, I carried it all the way to Maine. It was like anytime a storm would come in and the wind would start blowing, I really did not like being on them ridges in the wind at all. The
right,
least little bit of wind, I was really sensitive.
right,
And anytime I was looking for a camp, I did a lot of stealth camping. Uh, and I'd never even given a consideration prior to that day on the trail. Uh, when I'd see a lot of blowdowns, I was always paying attention to the blowdowns,
right,
and I would never set up camp anywhere I'd see blowdowns
right.
because it was.
How'd you do with bear hangs and stuff like that? Did you hang your food?
I did
Yeah,
um, practically every night, unless there was
bear
a
box.
box at a shelter. Yeah,
Yeah,
space. Yeah,
there were a
and I
couple
was more
places.
concerned with mice and raccoons than the
Right.
bears, honestly.
Yeah. We were really intentional about making sure that we hung our food when we didn't have a bear box or cables. But there were some days that were really hard and our bear hangs were horrible. But we still did it. But it was the best that we could do under the circumstances. And I really wanted to, when I got back home, try to figure out a way to find something to do that would help either get bear hangs like cables or like they had in the Shenandoahs, or the ones that were, can you hear that? That's my cat sneezing. Or the ones that they had at Baxter State Park. I thought those were really good, but just something because there were so many campsites or shelters that didn't have them. And you couldn't find, it was so hard to find a tree limb that was workable. And I thought if we could find a way to raise money to do that, but then the hurricane came and I thought this is not going to be a priority right now. So it's on
Yeah,
my back burner to be able to do something to help with that.
it is amazing. You're in the middle of the forest and you cannot find
Yeah.
suitable trees hardly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's difficult.
Yeah.
Yes. So you
But
mentioned the shelters. Did you have any mouse encounters?
we
The
did.
shelter mice.
I didn't have them. Like I was out at the picnic table and I saw one. And then we were at one of the huts in the Whites, and we were at the platforms. We were at the campsites, and
Oh yeah.
a little mouse ran across my foot. It
Okay.
was cute. I didn't freak out, but I didn't feel any or hear any at nighttime. And then well, I don't know, not all the shelters have this, but this one shelter had this little box on the left side of one of the
Hmm.
walls, and then you open it up, and that's where the logbook was. And so I slept right next to the wall all the time because season one didn't want to be that close to the wall. So I would sleep next to the wall, and then her Phoenix would be, from there on out. And when we got up the next morning, I lifted that up. It might have been the night before, and it was all like chewed up paper, and there were mice living in there. And so they slept right above my head all night. Never bothered me. But what about snakes? I almost stepped on two snakes, and Phoenix almost stepped
Uh,
on a timber rattler.
See, I really like the rattlesnakes.
They're
They're
beautiful.
so beautiful. They're all collared. I've never seen a timber rattle the entire hike.
Really?
Dozens of black snakes and corn snakes, but not a
Right.
single rattler. Yeah,
What
the
is the
entire
other
trail.
poisonous snake that's out there? Is that a copperhead?
Copperheads.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I almost stepped on a copperhead twice.
Wow.
Yeah,
See,
I
I
don't
was
know if it
hiking
was the
behind
same
you,
one.
ladies. You were clearing the way out.
Right. It was at a campsite and it was at this beautiful shelter, but we were staying in our tents. And when you look down at them, they look like leaves. And I didn't
Hmm.
see it. And I almost stepped on it going to the privy. And then it slithered away. We all were videotaping and taking pictures of it. It was just so beautiful. And then I went to go hang my food at the cable, and it was right underneath the cable, and I almost stepped on him again.
Oh, wow.
So,
Wow.
but any bear encounters? Did you see any bear?
Several. Yeah, bears were cool. Yeah, seen
Yeah.
a really big one up on McAfee up in before Daleville. There was probably the largest eastern black bear I've ever seen. He was
Hmm.
450, 500 pounds. It was a really big bear. Seen New Jersey. Everyone I think sees bears in Jersey.
Right.
Mama bear and cubs, and seen several bears along the way.
We didn't see hardly
Yeah,
any.
really.
Yeah, I saw one in Georgia, but I had to use my brother's phone, and his zoom is amazing. And there was a cub going up a tree, and the mama playing underneath it, but it was pretty far away from us. And then I saw one cross the trail way ahead of us. And then when we were at Baxter State Park, we were walking to the ranger station to get our tag, and one ran across the road. And that was really all I saw.
Did you
Yeah.
see any moose?
No.
Yeah, I didn't either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was making moose calls all of New Hampshire and Maine and Vermont. And the girls laughed at me the whole time, and I was not successful. No moose. How long did it take you to break camp in the morning?
Um, Probably half hour, 45 minutes at
Yeah.
least. It was a lot longer than I thought it would be.
Yeah, me too. I think ours was like 45 minutes to an hour on a regular basis. We would start waking up around 5:30. Did you ever stay in a shelter?
If it was going to rain,
Right.
I would get to a shelter. Um, I would try to make it a point to stay in a shelter about at least once a week just to see who was in my bubble,
Right.
for the social. That was where all the socializing takes place at the shelters.
Right.
So
We just
I would make it a point every week to stay at
right.
a shelter or camp
Yeah.
at it.
So the alarm clock for us at the in the shelter was the first person to open up their AirPad.
Yeah.
Right?
That was the only downside to a shelter. It's like I kind of wake up early,
Yeah.
and it's like I'm laying there, because you don't want to disturb people,
Right.
So that was the only downside to being in the shelters.
Right. Yeah.
And once people did start stirring, what about the crunch of Ziploc bags? That just
Mhm.
like, oh, just
Yeah, it got noisy. I
it did.
The first night that I stayed in a shelter, I was so afraid to get up and go to the bathroom in the middle of the night because I was afraid I was going to wake everybody up that I laid literally on my sleeping pad and underneath my sleeping bag for like 6 hours, really having to go to the bathroom, but didn't because I was so
Oh,
afraid of waking people up. That eventually numbed out and I would get up, but I was so afraid I was gonna because those things are noisy. No matter what
yeah.
pad you have, it's gonna create some kind of noise. And so I was always afraid I was gonna wake people up. So did you have any injuries?
Um, Besides my back when I was hit by that tree, that was the only injury.
Wow.
Uh, my IT band on my left leg was really tight. Did you make the Angels Rest Hostel in
Yes.
Harrisburg, Virginia?
Yep.
Well, I swung in there to do a Nero, and I'm doing my laundry. Got the loaner clothes. I run over to the store. Everything's so convenient
Hmm.
there. And one of the guys working the hostel, we were just talking. He mentioned Dr. Pepper, and I said, I think I'd done a section with Dr. Pepper through the Rhode Highlands last year. And he's like, well, no, Dr. Pepper's a doctor. Yeah, oh, okay. And he told me she was a chiropractor and
Yep.
she practiced acupuncture. And he asked me if I had any issue. And I said, man, my IT man, I'll try acupuncture. I've never tried it. I'm game. So he scheduled me, and I didn't get out of there till she couldn't get me in till 5 o'clock. So I spent most of the day. I go to the Mexican restaurant there. It was a good
Right. We
stop.
did too.
And she gave me the acupuncture, which was so relaxing. It's the only time I'd ever had it. And she told me, she said, you've got all this information here. She gave me a card to a lady in Waynesboro. So when you get
Okay.
to Waynesboro, call her, schedule your stop. She said it'll take a couple days for this inflammation to go away, but you should get relief in a couple days. Uh, uh, the next morning, my leg never hurt again. From then
Wow.
on, my left leg never hurt again. So it's like that was
Right.
a selling point. Yeah.
I have a story about her too. So I was dealing with vertigo on the trail from before trail days all the way up to Angel's Rest. So when I got to Angel's Rest, my friend Solo, did you ever meet Solo?
I did a hike with her, Zeke,
Okay.
on a couple different occasions. Yeah.
Right. So she was there and she is a masseuse. and
Oh, wow.
and very, very good one. And so she massaged my neck and my shoulders. And then I went right from her to the doctor, and she adjusted me and did acupuncture in my ears, and I was good to go. And
Was
the
that the first time you've
acupuncture,
done acupuncture?
yeah, yeah. And the
Yeah.
acupuncture was just these little square pads or things that stuck in my ear, like they stayed in there. And she said, just leave them in there until they fall out. And so I did.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they had some kind of sticky stuff on them, and she pressed them in there. And then, and her goal is, I don't know if she told you or not, but she's trying to figure out a way to line up like chiropractors, masseuses along the trail and be able to have people have those resources and have their information all the way up the trail. So I think that would be awesome. I didn't get any real injuries. I bruised my rib in the 100-mile wilderness. I fell and landed
Oh,
on a big rock. I slid, my feet slid out from underneath me, and there was this big boulder on the side, and I fell and landed right on it. And that kept me, that was sore. Like I had a hard time stepping up and over stuff. And, there's so many roots in that section.
oh,
But
yeah.
once my body warmed up, I was okay. But it probably hurt me. It was probably sore for at least 2 weeks after I got off the trail. But other than that, I just
Wow.
bruises and scrapes.
Yeah, to get that far in and have a fall like that, I
Yeah,
mean, that's like gut wrenching there, and it's
yeah,
like
yeah. So, but other than that, like my feet hurt, the tips of my toes. Did you get calluses? I got calluses on the tips of my toes.
my feet were just trashed. They were so sore for a couple months. It was probably after Thanksgiving when I got home. My feet were just so beat.
Really?
Uh, yeah, they were beat. That was the only thing. Um, if I had anything to do over in my next long hike, I'm definitely going to look at like some carbon fiber inserts or something. The rocks and the roots just they pulverize my feet.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
know everyone, the rocks of Pennsylvania, Rocksylvania,
right.
Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, the rocks and the roots they're nonstop. So
Right.
looking back and reflection, it was like, man, Pennsylvania was good.
Yeah,
you know, Flat, yeah, but
right.
the rocks of the New Hampshire, Vermont were brutal on my feet.
I thought the rocks in Pennsylvania they killed my feet. Like the second half of Pennsylvania, the first half I thought
But
was good. But when we
those
hit,
little pointy rocks, they
yes,
were just pointy, weren't they? Yeah,
yeah, you couldn't go anywhere without stepping on them.
yeah.
So, but they butchered the bottom of my feet. My feet were sore every day. But you got rest, and the next day you got up and go. But when I got off the trail, my feet were fine. No, no more pain.
Mine took probably a month. It was
Yeah,
November before my feet stopped
yeah.
hurting. Yeah.
Now I still have some numbness in my left big toe, and that started right off the beginning. I think I tied my shoes too tight, and I maybe pinched a nerve or something. I don't really know, but
Oh.
so
Did you increase shoe size while you were out there?
did I what?
Increase the shoe size?
I still so normally I'll wear like 10 and a half men's. I when I got to Franklin, they put me in the topos, 11 and a half men's.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
When I got my first set of shoes, I'd increased from, I always wore a 10, went to 11, and then all the way through, I wore 11s. Come back, and I could barely get in my shoes at
Yeah.
home.
Yeah. It's
Your feet
crazy.
do swell and sply out there a little
Huh?
bit.
Any surprises?
Ah, no, no real surprises. It was far more than I ever could have hoped for. I mean,
Right.
it's not cliche, man. It was just,
Screw
it's a
that.
magical experience, and everyone needs to experience it, the freedom, the sense of total freedom.
Yeah.
I love the early spring and summer and the birds.
Right.
It's like I'd get up early to get moving, but there was a certain period where I wouldn't move until the birds woke me up and be right at that gray. And
The,
when we got up north, the birds quit chirping in the morning,
I know. I was
and I
just going
would
to ask you if
be.
you experienced that too. We were like, where'd the birds go?
Did you hear any loons up north?
Yes, we saw some too.
I I did too. I
Oh,
love the
they're
loons. That's so
beautiful.
magical, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes.
Did
So,
you stop into Sterling to do a resupply there you crossed the river in Kertunk?
nope, nope, we didn't.
That was a really, really nice hostel down there.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sterling Inn. That was a really
Okay.
nice place. Great resupply, but but there's nothing else around for a while.
Right.
But
What were some of your
yeah.
favorite hostels that you stayed at?
Um, my favorite all around would probably be Shaw's, just because so many people were there, and the excitement, and the energy,
Right.
and the poet, man, the poet, he is truly like a super. He is cool, dude.
Yep.
Yeah, there's it was just the environment at Shaw's, all the excitement, and you know, it's over at that point, man. We're all melancholy, man. It's like this is
Right.
the end of our journey.
Yeah.
So Shaw's was my favorite. I really like the main hostel.
Me
I'm
too.
sitting there in that living room, and here you come strolling in. That was a super nice hostel.
Yes,
That was a
that's one of
really
my
nice
favorites.
hostel.
Yep.
Yeah,
Did you stay in
yeah.
the
Starting
Notch?
out, yes, that was a nice hostel
Yes.
over in yeah,
Yep.
right before the Whites.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
that was a really nice
I really like that
Lincoln,
one.
New Hampshire, Lincoln, New
Yep.
Hampshire.
Yep.
Yeah,
I thought she did an exceptional job. So well organized, where she had the barn for all your shoes and your backpack and keep all the stinky stuff out. Yeah.
that was excellent.
Yeah.
Yes, the laundry, everything worked well. That was a
Yeah.
really well run hostel.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I loved staying in the hostels. I thought that I just enjoyed that time that you got to have some camaraderie with the other hikers, and it was a lot of fun for me. I really enjoyed the hostels. What number were you when you started? Do you remember?
I think like 1849, I think.
Okay. Yeah, so you were cruising because I was 1478 or 87,
Okay.
something like that.
Okay.
And
I
then,
started out really like, I started out quick,
right,
but then I just found my groove to where it's like, I've got plenty of time. So there for the most of the summer, I would just tell people, man, smiles before miles. You'd catch me,
right.
man, any big overlook. I'd just be sitting there drinking coffee in the middle of the day, man. This is why I'm out here. You
Yeah.
know,
You
it
gotta slow
was,
yourself down sometimes, right?
yeah,
I wish I was still out there.
I do too. I do too.
I know you've got some trails ahead of you. What are you looking at?
I definitely want to do the PCT. I definitely want to do that. The long trail, there's just the experience of being out there for 5 or 6 months. Just that's the gem right there.
Right.
Um, I'll do the Allegheny, West Virginia soon. It's only 300 miles,
Okay.
but beautiful trail. I've hiked sections of it.
Okay.
It actually ends right there in Parisburg. Ricefield Shelter, that big long ridge coming out of Parisburg.
Right.
That's where the Allegheny Trail stops right there and joins the
Oh,
AT, and it runs up to Pennsylvania through
I'll have
West
to look at
Virginia.
that one. Yeah.
Yeah, really beautiful area. But yeah, now you're going to do the Camino.
I am going to do the Camino, and I'm thinking about the Colorado Trail.
Oh, that'd be nice.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then this one's short, but I want to do the rim to rim to rim in the Grand Canyon. Solo invited me to do the long trail. So if I can get that worked out, I might do the long trail towards the end of the summer.
Bromley Mountain, Vermont. Did you stay in the ski hut up on Bromley Mountain? They
We,
had the big observation tower.
no, we didn't stay there. Mm-mm.
Okay.
Nope. We did. We were really fortunate because we had people that we knew along the way that were willing to put us up. So like in,
I'd met a guy uh, like 2 years ago. I'd left a wedding, and me and my daughter, we decided to take a scenic drive home. And it was a state park in West Virginia. Met this guy, started talking with him, and he lives a really, really interesting life, man. He's a real cool guy. Exchanged Instagram. That's the only way we kept in touch was the Instagram account. And I'm cruising through Virginia, and he says, "Hey, man, um, I'm sitting at mile marker whatever on the road." And he said, "Where you at?" And I said, "Dude, I just passed that like 2 hours ago." So he had, and not only met this guy like in passing a couple of years
right,
prior to that, we just had a conversation. Ended
right.
up running into him
Oh,
again, man, and
that's so
you
cool.
know, it was so cool. Yeah, he took
Right,
me and got me a resupply. And you had lunch, and just man, it was so cool. Just
right.
the people are just yeah. You know, I only live like 4 hours from like Parisburg, close to
Right,
Parisburg, about 4 hours. I can't wait to go down there this spring and do some trail magic.
right.
I'm so looking forward to that. You
Yeah.
know, yeah.
My brother and I are going to do a backpacking trip in the Smokies at the end of March. And I'm hoping that we can incorporate some trail magic while we're there. I'm hoping that we can stop and do some trail magic for people because it's such a mood enhancer, and
It
you want to
is.
be able to do that for other people. Well, any advice or encouragement you can give to upcoming through hikers?
Wow. You know, don't get in a hurry. Take as much time as if I'd had 7 or 8 months, I would still be out there.
Right.
Don't get in no hurry.
Yeah.
You know, if you're hiking in a bubble and you make friends early on, you get that little tramley early on, but everyone's pace isn't the same. So if you lose your tramley, don't worry about it. You'll catch up with them at some point. Your paths will continuously cross
Yes.
the entire way up the trail.
Right.
Just don't get in no hurry and enjoy yourself.
Right.
Enjoy every minute.
I was listening to Roadrunner today. She was doing a thing on saying that all the AT through hikers that are on YouTube glamorize the AT and only talk about the good stuff and all that. There's no doubt that there's hard days and there's, but even in the hard days, I had a blast. Maybe not going through it, like some of those climbs were hard and some of them were scary coming down, but when you finished it, you were, it was like, yes. So
For me, the worst part was just the heat of the summer. We hit that probably 3 week period. It was just
right.
blistering hot.
Yeah.
And it wasn't so much the heat, it was just the constant. Your clothing was like, I mean, you could honestly just wring it
Yeah.
several
Yeah.
times a day. Everything was just so soppy, wet, and it never dried. The humidity was so hot at night. Not enough to make you want to quit. It's just like, it's just, it's a mood dampener. It's like,
Right.
man, I've got to put these nasty, stinky clothes back on.
And I
Yeah,
and I
that was
think
the worst part.
yeah, and I think that you have to be comfortable being uncomfortable because you are going to be
Definitely.
uncomfortable, but it's not worth quitting for, right? And you're
Yeah.
gonna you're gonna fall, you're gonna get bruised. I don't know if you fell. I fell a lot, especially up in New Hampshire and Maine. But I never
I had
felt
a
like I was ready to quit.
No, I had a couple of scary falls in New Hampshire. I mean, it was like
Yeah,
they could
me
do a better
too.
job on that trail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did you handle Mount Madison?
Oh, well, I can't be honest with you because when I got to Madison Hut, I'd left Mitzvah, did Washington. I spent way too much time eating. And then I get around to the hut and they didn't have a stay for work and there's no place to camp. So I had to go over Madison and come back down to the Osgood campsites. Somebody probably didn't make it off Madison before dark. Somebody probably
Mm,
cowboy camped on Madison. Checked my phone. There was perfect weather. There was no chance of.
right.
It was a no-no, but it was the best camp I had the entire trail.
Really?
Man, sitting there looking at Washington when the sun came up over here to the
Oh my
east.
gosh.
Oh, it was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful.
Wow.
Um, and had I not had such a bad experience going through the place, I would have probably hiked it in my headlamp. But that's so. I just thought, man, this is good.
Yeah, I would have never
So
gone down Mount Madison with a headlamp. I had such a hard
yeah,
time coming off of Mount Washington on the north side of Mount Washington, just finding the right
the
rocks to
rocks.
climb on. Like to me, that was scary for me. And then coming down Mount Madison, I took a pretty bad tumble. And so those two, the Mount Madison to me that was the one that is my least favorite out of all of them. But I was so glad that I did it. And but I took a couple pretty bad tumbles too, where I thought I came inches from like whacking my head on this big stump and all that stuff. But we made it. So
Yeah.
we made it.
Oh, definitely.
So well,
So, like I know myself, I'm going back to hike like Franconia Ridge. I'm going to New Hampshire
oh,
just
you
to hike
should.
that, to
Yes.
walk that. But it's like, for many years, like I said, starting at 14, I do sections.
Mhm.
And it's like I really want to go back and do that Springer to Gatlinburg section, the Newfoundland Gap, that 200 miles,
Right.
just to experience the bubble again.
Right.
Just to get in that little bubble. Just
Yeah.
to,
I'd like to
that's
do it in
just
the
a
fall.
it's oh, that would be
I
beautiful.
think the
Yeah,
fall would be beautiful. Yeah.
yeah.
And I'm only like, I don't know how far you are away from there. I'm about 8 hours from
Okay.
there.
Yeah, I'm probably less than 6 hours from
Yeah.
Gatlinburg, so that's
Yeah.
fairly close.
So, wow. Well, I have really enjoyed this. This has been a lot of fun.
Oh, it has. It's
I
so
love
good to
when,
see you again after all
yes,
this time.
so good. We need to chat more often, even if we're not doing something for YouTube. And
Okay.
yeah, I mean, I think we're doing a pretty good job of staying in touch. This has been awesome. I appreciate you doing this with me. It brings back the trail so much for me, being able to sit here and chat about our time on the trail. It helps me not miss it quite as much.
Yeah, I mean that's a the trail depression. I mean,
Real.
I don't know if it's like really a depression, but it's like, man, it's just constantly with you, and you
Yeah,
just long to be out there.
yeah,
I want to be out on the trail. I go hiking here, but it's still not satisfying like being out on the trail.
yeah. Everybody I talk to is like, I think about the trail every day. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's hard to get back
yeah.
on.
I mean, I don't know. I try to explain it like it's the first time in my entire life that I was totally free.
Yeah,
I was unencumbered by anything. It's like I'm just going to get up and I'm going to walk, and it's like
yeah,
if I get hungry, I'll get to a road crossing and hitchhike to town.
right.
Life was so simple and so good for.
Yep. Yeah, it was an amazing experience. I'm so glad that we all took the plunge and made it from Springer to Katahdin and got to experience some of those moments together. So, well, I'm going to go ahead and end this. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And I can't wait to share this with the people out there on the channel. So, for those of you guys watching, I appreciate you guys hanging in there until the end. And I'm so glad you got to meet Strider because he's one of my dear friends from the trail. And I hope that if you're going to go out on the trail, whether you're doing a section hike or a through hike, day hike, whatever, that you guys find some joy out there like we have. So thank you so much. And I will talk to you soon. All right.
Bruce, thank you. Take care. Okay.
All right. I will. Bye.
Oh, bye.
Peace out, guys.